The MLB The Show 26 franchise feature premiere came out today, yesterday, whenever you're watching this video, and we got a whole lot of new information, never before seen information regarding franchise, so I'm really excited to go ahead and break this all down. Before I get started, I just wanted to get one thing off the table, off my chest. This is a no negativity review. I do have spurts. I give myself a little bit of room to, say like there's a miss here and there, but I'm not going to be bashing franchise in this review. If you want to find some negativity, there are plenty of Instagram and YouTube comment sections out there. In fact, you can go under the feature premiere and read all of the comments there. So if you're here for someone to bash all the changes and stuff, I'm not the guy for that. In fact, and I'm going to go on a bit of a sidebar here, I've realized that over the last few years, franchise has really taken a front seat. And I feel like not a lot of people are realizing that. We've seen major changes over the last 3 iterations of the game, and it's been slow and steady, but it's been changes. We had scouting reworked, then we had free agency reworked, and now we're getting a complete overhaul of the trade system with something they say that they built from the ground up. So I'm really excited to dive into all this information and get you guys just about everything that we know. One of the first things I noticed, and this is great news for franchise players, they showed screenshots of the front page, and March to October is not there. March to October is gone. And me personally, I'm a huge fan of that. I was never a big fan of March to October. In fact, when they added March to October to the game, I was, jealous and a little worried for the fate of franchise. It really seemed, and it seemed to a lot of people, not only myself, that they were starting to phase out franchise in favor of a more streamlined and faster mode. One of the big changes that they did this year, right off the bat, is they gave you a streamlined franchise mode as well as a complete mode. Streamlined is going to be more, you focus on one team. It's very March to October-y with elements of franchise. I'm a big fan of it because what they were doing with March to October is they were giving March to October new features and completely, I don't want to say completely ignoring franchise, but franchise kind of took a back seat in favor of March to October. They really tried to tie it in a Diamond Dynasty, and I was not a big fan of that. A lot of the community was not a big fan of that. I really just don't think that we see these changes if the devs don't care. But anyways, let's move past that. Let's take a look at the trade overhaul, the trade hub, coming to the show 26. The trade hub is going to house trade rumors, an overview of the trades, pending offers you've sent out, offers you've received, your trade block, your untouchable players, your trade targets, and positions you are targeting. And then if you go ahead and look at the bottom of the page here, you've got the ability to make a trade, check out trade blocks across the MLB, check out your depth chart, your lineups, and your rotation. It's centralized, it's organized, it's clean, and under the new system, I think this is going to work very well. Let's go ahead and talk about the pending offers, because this gives you the ability to field multiple offers at once, which is something I'm really excited for. It's something I predicted, by the way, in the last video that I posted. So trade offers, they're going to take time. They're going to take time to develop. You're going to have the ability to counter, accept, decline trades, instead of the last system where it was you were sent an offer and 9 times out of 10 it was pretty bad, and the 1 times out of 10 that it was good, you couldn't negotiate it. Unless you went back and recreated the trade. This ability to field multiple offers at once, it really gives you an opportunity not to sell yourself short. You can see, okay, well, this team's offering me these prospects for this player. This team's offering me these prospects for this player. And you're able to select which offer looks more enticing and go ahead and move on with that trade rather than a one and done, decline, boom, that's it. There's also now the positional market. You can see there, it shows you what positions are the most abundant, maybe what positions come more at a premium. So say you've got a starting pitcher and a left fielder market, there's a lot of those positions available. Maybe you'll have more opportunities to pick up those players, but if you're a team that's maybe in need of a second baseman, you're going to have to pay it more of a premium. You're going to have to give up more to acquire a second baseman. Maybe you have a second baseman that you're willing to give up, and now teams are willing to give up more to get that second baseman from you. I really like this. Maybe this was something that was in the game before, but not at this complexity, not at this amount. Now you really have to think long term, and this is where they say, decisions matter more. This is them acting on it. This is them promising that your decisions are going to matter more, and them providing. So, you're forced with a decision. Do I give up this big prospect long term in exchange for this player that I'm going to have for a year and a half of control? Am I giving up 7 to 8 years of control for a guy who I'm going to have to try to re-sign in free agency. This decision is going to hit a lot harder for small market teams. It's going to be harder to trade for big name players. It's going to be harder for big franchises to trade big players to small market teams for their prospects. It adds that level of realism. It adds some difficulty, which if you're a franchise player like myself, you know that we've been asking for a long time. Anything that makes the game just a tiny bit more difficult, a little bit more immersive, a little more realistic. Me personally, and I think I can speak on behalf of a lot of people here, we eat that up. Piggybacking off of that, you've got the overall market sentiment, which I think is a cool addition. Gives you an overall feel of the market, whether you're, a lot of teams are buying, a lot of teams are selling. In this screenshot, it's a buyer's market. Multiple teams are looking to sell. So if you're a buyer, if you're making a playoff push, this is a prime market for you. Maybe you are a team making a playoff push that needs a left fielder. Whoa, it's a left fielder's market and a buyer's market. Things are panning out for you, and that's just kind of how it works in the baseball world. Teams that can make the moves make the moves. Teams that have the ability, things play out and they can make the move that makes them better. Those are the teams that win championships, and that connects to standings mattering more. They always kind of mattered in the past. I feel like every year they talk about how standings, your record, it influences what kind of organization you are. It makes it easier or harder for certain trades to happen. It's always been kind of funky. It hasn't always worked properly, in my opinion. I've had 90-win teams labeled as rebuilding. I'm going out and buying at the deadline. It just doesn't make sense. Under this new trade system, like I said, they've completely reworked. So I'm really, really expecting them to actually deliver on these promises of the logic changes and everything this time around. This not only applies to you, but it applies to the CPU as well. So, rebuilding CPU teams are going to be trying to sell off those big expiring contracts to big market teams in order to receive their prospects, for the future, so they can make that playoff push, they time it right. But also say you've got a struggling team that needs a third baseman. You've got a third baseman on an expiring deal who's not really doing good. Maybe that team in a market where a third baseman or a premium is willing to overpay for your average or struggling third baseman. It again adds that level of realism, adds a lot of detail in world building into your franchise. Piggybacking off of that, everything, this is a whole new system, so everything's really gonna piggyback off the last thing. Team agendas and strategies will matter more. Rivalries will matter. In real life, you don't really see the Yankees and Red Sox doing each other any favors. I ripped that straight from the fielding feedback that they uploaded earlier today. But I mean, it's true. In my franchises, of course, say I'm the White Sox, I'm not trading to the Tigers, I'm not trading to the Twins unless I know for sure that I'm going to benefit from this. Because the last thing I want is to have to face this top prospect I gave up to a division rival for the next 5 or 6 years, and he just absolutely torches me. It's a bad look in your franchise mode. It's a bad look in real life. And, obviously, I feel like I've stated this a few times, but trading, it's going to be more difficult this year, which, like I said, and I've said multiple times, franchises, we want a challenge, or at least the majority of us want a challenge. So there are new trade responses that kind of give you an idea of where you may be missing. This offer is too far off to take seriously is one of them, or this offer missed on both fit and value, which I think is really cool. Because if that's true, if the CPU is kind of giving that response, and it's true that this player doesn't fit, and we're not getting enough back, then you're going to offer a trade you're going to counter with a trade if you really want this player that does fit the team and gives back proper value. And I know that's trading in general. I just feel like it applies more to certain situations. So maybe it's just vague speak word salad stuff. But my hope is that with the new logic, it does actually mean something. Especially because the trade value bar is gone. See the screenshot? This screenshot, I did that in my last video too. This screenshot right here, something's missing, and that is the trade value bar. And me personally, I love it. It might be controversial. People other than me may not love it, but I'm a big fan of fog of war, and I'm a big fan of urgency, which also goes hand in hand with the fact that trades go away out after time. Those pending offers, they're not going to sit there forever. You can see in this screenshot here, the White Sox say, we can't wait for your decision any longer. Contact us again if you want to make a deal, because trades take time to develop, by the way, which I was the first person to point out. You can quote me on that. I'm very confident in that. I was the first person to pick that up. I'm not saying I'm a prophet. But whatever the closest thing is to a profit, I'm that. But yeah, there's going to be a sense of urgency to every trade you make, especially towards the deadline. Maybe you're going to want to give up bigger prospects. I can't say that's guaranteed for the CPU. I can't say that the CPU is going to feel the same urgency as you. But I kind of like that because it adds difficulty. Like I said, I'm gonna say this a million times over. Anything that makes the franchise more difficult, anything that makes it more immersive, anything that one of the devs said, it gives me stress. I kind of enjoy that. And then one last thing here that's, a couple of things, but the last big thing here that's going to kind of affect how trades work is market size. And I feel like they say the same thing. They say it every year that market size matters. But under the new system with the whole rework, I kind of have more faith that they're being honest here. You won't see teams like Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh making big splashes in the trade market to pick up like Juan Soto. That's just not realistic in real life. It's not realistic in the game. They said there's maybe a little leeway on the last year of control or last year plus one of control, but in general, like you won't see Corey Seager, Juan Soto, any other player really on a big deal being shipped off for prospects to a small market team. But who knows? Maybe the Yankees go out and they get Seager from the Rangers because they're making a push and they need a shortstop. But in general, small market teams are gonna hold their prospects a little more. They're gonna hold them a little more dear than say big market teams, who are willing to ship off those prospects for big names because they can go out in free agency and replace them. Small market teams, not so much. And then finally, secondary positions now hold more weight. I don't even think they held any weight in the first place. But now teams won't be trading just based on the primary position of a player. They're going to go out and trade for guys who can, say they need a third baseman, but the best available third baseman is a second baseman. Say like Jazz Chisholm's on the market. We'll go ahead and pick him up. We're going to stick him at third base. The Yankees had him at second, but he can play third. So we're going to go ahead and throw him at third base. I'm not saying that's realistic, but that's kind of the example I have. Or even, the Mets, they got Bo Bichette. He's playing at third base. He's usually a shortstop. They signed Bichette. Now he's playing third. Prospects now hold value as well. I forgot to mention. A top 30 prospect is going to hold more weight than just like some random from AA with deep potential. Those prospects are going to be more coveted in trades. They added that last year in the prospect list. I'm really glad that it means a little bit more going into the show 26. And then just a couple of smaller changes here, but still really cool changes, mind you. I'll start with the smaller one, the trade block icon. I know in the last video I mentioned the untouchable players have a lock next to their name. Now players in the trade block will have a TB next to their name. I think that's a really cool add. It makes looking for those players a lot easier. And then now the CPU can now do bullpen games. Bullpen games, openers, they've always been a thing, but they haven't been a thing. They haven't been a feature. You've always been able to start a reliever, but now you can mark an opener and then have, your bulk guys follow or more relievers follow. I think that's a really cool addition. They said it's going to be based on staff performance, injuries, or maybe even just, matchups. Maybe they don't like this matchup. They want to throw a bunch of right-handed relievers from different arm slots or lefties from different arm slots. Such and such. Yeah, that's cool. It adds realism. I really like this. I kind of just want to close out by saying this. I think it's unrealistic to ask for a complete overhaul of franchise mode every year. And, say what you want about it, think what you want. But me personally, all I ask is that changes and improvements are being made step by step. If they advertise something like logic changes, I expect them to deliver on it. There's been a lot of misses in the past where they say things have changed, things are better, and maybe they're a little better, but they're not marginally better. I feel like in a game that comes out year after year after year, marginal difference, kind of matters. Scouting is marginally different than how it was the last year. Free agency is marginally different than how it was before the year they reworked it. Now trades are marginally different from how it was last year. I'm not asking for completely new features or to rework the whole mode. Franchise mode has a great foundation. I think MLB The Show's franchise is one of the better franchise modes out there. But it's just outdated. There was a very long period of time where franchise just wasn't getting the love it deserved. And credit to SDS, they did finally listen to their community. They are finally overhauling things in franchise without completely tearing down the mode. I don't think that's the right move to make. If they're going to go out and advertise that decisions are going to be harder to make, and they're going to have more impact, then I fully expect them to deliver on that. And with the changes they've made so far, I believe them. I mean, it looked like they rehauled the whole trade system, so I'm ready. I want my trades to have an impact. I'm not only on my team, but the whole league. And I'm really excited for the new features. Like I said, no negativity here, just maybe a little bit of constructive criticism. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you. If you watched my last video, thank you again. Because I did predict a lot of things, and I did get a lot of things right, which I'm very proud of myself. That was really my first face-to-camera video in like 7 years, so that was really exciting. It was really fun to make. It was really fun to make this video, and I appreciate you for sticking around to the end of my ramble. There's a lot of AI slop, a lot of white guys with mustaches complaining on YouTube. That just kind of like, it's kind of like no soul. So I try to be that light on this platform. Try to make content that's, not so much focusing on the negative end of things, especially with the game where people aren't too happy with it right now. I am really excited for the changes. I hope you are too. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hi there, I just got done editing this video and I remembered you can now include 4 players per side in a trade, which is cool. And you can also see pitcher stamina from the pitching rotation screen. That's all, bye.